Whoa. Carlisle. She was from the west side, uptown, 45th Ave, bad little thing, she a cutie, and she got swag, told her that when I come through, we could pop tags, took her around the town just for shopping, you know we blow it back, don't care if haters is watching, they just getting mad, real bustin'.
Welcome to the Acquired Taste Show, it's your boy Richie Carlisle. Today we have a very special guest, we have Joi Wilson, also known as the credit and the tax queen. In the building, serial entrepreneur extraordinaire, and a great friend of the show.
Yes, hey, how are you?
Doing pretty good.
Glad to be here.
It's always a pleasure to chop it out with you. Now, for those that's been following me over the years, y'all know that Joy's been a recurring guest. For those that haven't been following me over the years, can you just give them a brief introduction of who you are and what you do?
Well, so I am like Richie said, that I am I would say serial entrepreneur but focused, but my main focus is the financial world. I do taxes and credit. I actually also help other tax professionals start their own tax business. Been doing that for a while, so I've been doing taxes for almost 20 years now, actually a little over 20 years, and 16 professionally. So I've had my own business since 2010. So it's going all right. I would say that.
I would say so. If you're looking at paying tuition for two kids at the same time, you got to be doing something.
Yeah, my twins just turned 18 in June, as you know, and I had a daughter that started right in the fall, and then I have a son who will be starting in January. So, and they are both also business owners as well.
Congratulations for that. It's really hard to figure out where to start, but I will ask, a question. This question I'm going to ask you is, what was going on in your life when you decided to become a business owner?
Wow. It's an odd situation. I just kind of fell into it. So, my ex, basically, who's currently my ex, I guess, he was a barber cutting hair, and a guy approached him, who was one of his clients, and was like, hey, anybody wants to start a tax business? And he was like, the girl, she does taxes. Now, at that time, I never would have, you could have never told me, especially growing up, when you get asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Taxes would have never been on my radar, because I absolutely hated math. But my mother was a math teacher, so I had to know how to do it, okay? But I just absolutely hated math, so I never would have figured that I would have been doing taxes. But with taxes, it was more about money math, and I liked the problem-solving aspect of it and helping people. So that's really how I got started, how I started doing taxes professionally. The twins were about a year and a half old. And I joined one of the national companies out there, I won't say the name, and got trained and started working there just to get out the house as a mom, a mother of twins, real small children, just to get out and start talking to adults again. Right. So that's really how I got out there and started doing more, in the tax industry, but started my own tax business. I just kind of fell into that one, and just never left. Never left. So,
could you please tell us about, a key milestone moment in your career, or the most recent one?
Most recent? Let's see. Well, it's still a couple of years ago because of COVID. We lost a couple of years, so to speak. But in 2019, I decided to brand my own tax software. And that, for me, was huge because, there's a lot, just even thinking that it was a possibility that you could actually sell a software that you not necessarily develop, but can train in and that you can offer it as yours. And that really changed the revenue aspect of my business. My business went from let's just say it quadrupled my revenue in the middle of a pandemic. because I decided to step out and do that. So, and really it was, what pushed me to do that is because I was, working with another company that was supposedly helping me. Mm-hmm. And once I started adding up the money that I was not being given, what that I was promised, it got to about over $40,000. And it made me get to a point where I was just like, yeah, I'm done. So,
sometimes $4,000.
Well, I'm a very trusting person because I'm a very honest person. So
right, that's true.
With that, it takes a while for me to be like, you're doing me dirty on purpose. Mm-hmm. For me to just walk away. I'm very loyal to a T. To a fault. So I had to really. It took a lot for me to finally walk away. And then walking away, of course, you have fear because now you go enter into the unknown of, what happens. Am I going to be able to handle, every aspect of it? It did change a lot. I have to do, tech support, customer service a lot more, dealing with my other tax partners' offices and their problems. So it did kind of grow the complexity in the business. And I was still like a solopreneur. Mm-hmm. So it created challenges, but I got through it, and now I'm putting more systems in play so that I don't have to have the burden of everything on me. So you definitely have to learn to document and delegate your business so that you don't have to be the one that's doing every single thing all the time.
Understood. So how did you feel when you said that the software quadrupled your revenue? How did you feel when you saw that happen?
It was more after the fact, when it's time to do the taxes. Mm-hmm. You're like, I didn't realize I made that much, And when I say that, we're still talking about, in the business world, in my opinion, still fairly low numbers. Because my network at this point are people who are making 7 figures and so. Mm-hmm. At that point, I made well over 6 figures. Mm-hmm. I wasn't making that when it was just my own tax business. Right. So it opens up the door to making a lot more revenue. But again, what holds me back or held me back was the fact that I was the one doing everything. So it was still for me learning trial and error because I stepped out, had to learn. I had some people who wanted to start tax businesses and do it fraudulently, and then I had to shut down offices and, just making the harder decisions that you don't want to make, but you definitely don't want to get caught up and end up, where, in prison somewhere, right. Because somebody else under, your umbrella of business is doing things that, to me, is not even worth it. So, but the money in itself, it was good. We just spoke right before this that, I took my whole family on a trip to Aruba. My mother had never been out of the country. Of course, my kids hadn't, and I hadn't either. So I got, passports for everybody, and that was my vacation. We went to Aruba. So it was an experience, and I enjoyed it, and I want to always grow, that to where I can take more time out and spend time with my family and, and experience things, because one thing we can't get back is time. That's the one thing I can't get back. I can make money again, but, you definitely can't get time.
Yeah, that's the thing, life's just definitely about experiences. Your kids won't, as parents, you think that the kids appreciate the extra sacrifices you make for them. They don't. They do later. They remember what they remember are the experiences. They remember the family vacations. They remember you being at the recitals, the football, the sports games, or, important moments in their life where they needed you. They don't, when a kid, you did like 20 hours a day or whatever.
And that's the one thing that I can appreciate about being a business owner and having the setup that I do have, is that I can take time off. I've always, every school, like they just graduated, but I mean, mind you, I started the tax industry before they even started school. So really, I started my own business after they were in school. They were still like in the first grade or something like that. So I was able to be a present parent. Any challenges or complications, anything going on at the school, I'm Johnny on the spot. I tell the teachers all the time, you have my cell phone. Call me, I will show up. And that was always a blessing. So I think my kids do recognize that, and they appreciated that I was always, there when necessary.
Right. So do you have any recommendations for people that are interested in doing taxes as a business?
Well, come see me and get trained. I do tax training. I've been doing that almost 10 years now, to where I'm very thorough. I see that there's some people out here who are training tax individuals or tax professionals, and they leave a lot out. They only teach them how to make the money. They don't teach them like the core, and it's just like math in the aspect of where you have to learn 1 + 1 = 2 before you start learning how to multiply and divide. You have to know the foundation at least of the tax code, and it can be intimidating at times, but if I just want to know the basis of like what makes somebody head of household, which a lot of people think because they are the head of their household that they are actually head of household in IRS's eyes, and that's not always the case. So just knowing different things like that, what makes your child your dependent. I've had some kids, especially over these last couple of years during the pandemic, some of the kids made more money than the parents did. I'm sorry, honey, they're no longer your dependent. Not if they made more money than you did. No, you can't claim them just because they're your child and they live in your house. That's not the definition.
They had a household. You're dependent now.
Right. So, it's just little things like that somebody getting into the industry really needs to know. The basics, and that's really what I focus on in my training. I try to tell them, don't worry about doing business taxes, or even Schedule C's can sometimes be complicated. Worry about, just regular everyday people who work a job and have kids. You'll make the most money focusing on those returns, and once you master that, then start adding multiplication and division. Start adding more complexity to your return, and then you'll have more confidence too, and to be able to tell more people that, hey, I do taxes. Because that's been the biggest challenge for new people coming in. It's like, you don't want to tell anybody that you do taxes, but how do you expect to make money or for people to know that you do taxes? Exactly. You got to tell somebody. So it's that lack of confidence sometimes. It grows, the confidence grows when you're better trained.
So we were just talking about, your children attending college. You were saying earlier that you wanted them to go to college for the experience. What's your overall opinion on the importance of college in the 21st century?
Right now, college is important for certain fields, certain careers. You can't say I'm going to be a doctor or MD and not go to school for it. You can't just say, I'm going to go watch YouTube. YouTube's going to teach me how to be a doctor, a medical doctor. That doesn't work like that. So in that industry, and also like the legal industry, lawyers and things like that, there are specific careers that you definitely need to go to school for. I think that a lot of people, though, including myself, wasted a lot of money going to school to get a degree, got the degree, and I don't even use it. So I would love to take my piece of paper degree back to the school and ask for a refund. Because I can sure use that $100,000 that I owe in student loans and put that toward my business, invest it into my business. So, hindsight is always 20/20. And with that, I approach that with my kids and saying that you don't necessarily have to go to college. I do want you, though, to have an experience of college, which brings forth networking, meeting other people outside your normal circle, just having that experience. And I'll go during business conferences and things like that out of the state. I've taken my kids with me, so they were always my junior execs, I call them. And, so they've experienced being around other people, being around entrepreneurs, being around multimillionaires and things like that. But still, but they were always older, But to be around other people who are not part of your circle, who are still your peers, I think that's important for them to have those types of experiences in college. So go to college, concentrate on what you really want to learn and focus on. You don't necessarily have to get a degree, But in those environments, for some people, they do better in a classroom to learn. Other people do better going on YouTube University and figuring out, what they want to do specifically. Because you can learn a lot, so many endless things on YouTube or on the internet or in some other format versus going to an official university.
Yeah.
So I'm not against it.
Yeah, no, that's my thing. If you are, if your child is trending towards a particular field that requires college, absolutely. But if not, then you may want to just, like my youngest daughter, she's an artist.
My son too.
So it's like, I'm like, well, I mean, you're making money with your art. I mean, I'm like, you want to go to art school? Yeah. But a traditional university, good.
Well, I just wanted to add something in as well, because you said the 21st century. I would just say with the information that we have now, kind of like you said, you can go to YouTube and pretty much find anything. But from the information that I've read, millionaires, a lot of them didn't have college debt. You know what I mean? They came out of college, either they didn't go to college or they came out of college debt free. You know what I mean? To where, because college is something, that debt hinders us, especially as the black community. It hinders us a lot. So like right now, my daughter's in college, but our focus is trying to get her through college without any debt. You know what I'm saying? So when she comes out, she may have a little debt, maybe, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, something like that, but not $30,000, $40,000. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it gives it a little, it makes it easier for her to be more successful as she gets older.
And to add to that, that was one of the reasons why I encouraged my kids to at least go, because their father was in the military, and supposedly they would be able to go for free.
We
ran into, let's just say, a curveball to where that wasn't 100% true, because some people didn't do what they were supposed to do, but we're not going to do all that.
Right.
We're not going to go there.
It's always some loopholes. Always.
But,
especially with black people.
I have friends in my network, I still have a lot of people in the military, and I had a friend that was like, hey, there's a scholarship in Ohio that you can actually still do that if certain other eligibility meets. So my kids were actually able to get a scholarship that paid, I think, 80% of their tuition. So, but before all of that, I went ahead and did the Parent Plus loan, which I didn't have that. My mother wasn't able to do that for me.
Right. Yeah, they tried to get us to do it too. I think we might have did it for a couple.
I did it just because at that point, her mind was set on going. And I didn't want her to be disappointed in not going. So I did it anyway. But really, once that scholarship kicked in, she doesn't need it at this point. So she won't past this year have to continue getting the loans and things like that. So I just told her, you just make more strategic moves, because when I was in school, I moved out of my mother's house when I was 17. So I left prematurely. And I graduated high school at 16. But I did a lot of stuff early that now I'm like, should have just stayed. Because it really made no big difference other than creating other challenges in life early on. So when I went to school, when I was able to actually go back to school, I took out loans to help me live.
Most people do. That's what most people do.
Yeah. Right. But I didn't want my daughter to take on that same mindset. So, and I struggle with her now because she's still around certain people, and it's just like, well, maybe I should do this and do that. And I'm like, but you don't have to. So why? And, it's still, a challenge trying to get them in there now